Ooh, this is exotic. Muscle Cat Media. Nice. Cultural.
Welcome back to the Expats for the first time in a week. Look, there have been some extenuating circumstances. Sorry, no weekend pickoff on Friday, and we were promising to do another Destiny draft yesterday, but we didn't do it, but for good reason. We'll get to that as the show goes on. Eric and Spoon are with me, all three of us on the show together. And Spoon, I guess we have to start with you. Round one winner of Destiny Draft. Congratulations.
Round one dominator, baby. Thanks to my D-backs. Jacob deGrom in his 1 point was really the clown in makeup, pretending to be a Navy SEAL. If you told me going into it that Jacob deGrom was going to pitch as many innings as David Peterson and have 11 less points, would have laughed you out of the room. But here we are. My weak link. Fortunately, it didn't matter.
Yeah, as it ended, Spoon on 44 points to win the first round. Eric just pipped me 23 points to 22. Grom ended up basically where he was the entire race. Was in last, though he did make it interesting. And Eric, I'll come to you. It was neck and neck for you and me there a little while. But yeah, David Peterson, of all people, was the man that carried you to a silver medal finish in round number one. Who would have thought?
It's crazy because Matt Olson started off so hot. After like the first 3 days, he had 8 points. And what did he finish on? Like 1?
3.
It was brutal. Like he kind of limped into the finish line. But I mean, Spoon's D-backs are hot, right? He picked D-backs players at the exact right time. He identified that they had a soft point in the schedule, went all in on the stack. He stacked some D-backs and it worked. So credit to the man. It was some smart decision making. And you know what? My anti-Spoon strategy didn't work because if you rolled the clip back from that draft, I said,
You passed on them all.
I passed and let you take Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
I should have taken Corbin Carroll. That's on me. I got in my head because of our fantasy football things. I didn't want to go with the Spite Spoon strategy, and I did go with the Spite Spoon strategy. Oh, I didn't go with the Spite Spoon strategy, and at the end of the day, it ended up being in Spoon's benefit. So you're welcome. I gifted you Corbin Carroll.
It was a nice emotional stack too, because watching my guys go well as I wasn't like Rosie having to check if Cal Quantrill was entering the game for the Texas Rangers in the 8th inning blowout somewhere in Arlington. I was already watching my guys, so it worked out well. And also shout out to Grom for coming on as our first guest. He kind of, we took the proverbial out of him for a couple of weeks about the James Wood pick, but he ended up making it pretty interesting. I mean, James Wood finished on 15 points. Corey Seager with -1 and an IL stint kind of probably cost him that end up, that second to fourth race being quite interesting. But our first guest for 2026, it was great to have a listener on and something we look forward to doing all year.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Well, and really, I mean, I probably was the beneficiary of the round ending when it did because of what James Wood did today. He was 4 for 5 at a homer, only struck out once, and Manny was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Obviously, my hypothesis that Manny Machado was going to break out in the middle of May was obviously not proved to be true. Bryce Terang and Cal Quantrill, friend of the podcast, are the two that certainly buoyed me throughout the competition. Just to wrap things up in that, so Spoon obviously wins round one, which means he will roll into round two, which will start next week. I'll get to that in a second. Spoon on 4 points, Eric on 3 points, beating me by 1, so I'm on 2, and the listener spot with 1 point. We will have a new listener next Monday. The reason why we skipped yesterday is because we're going to come up against the All-Star break, and by skipping this week, it means that we have 3 clear rounds with the 6 weeks heading into the All-Star break. So we will rip 3 packs on Monday next week. And as the guys were speaking about it, Corbin Carroll, he did end as the highest point getter of any player pulled. And the highest player pulled that was not drafted ended up being Gavin Sheets. And that was really
electric.
just 1 week because he was on fire the first week. I mean, he didn't do an awful lot the second week, but to end on 23 points. And I mean, Keibert Ruiz, George Springer, Luis Garcia Jr., like there were some guys that ended up scoring pretty big that we didn't take. And now that we sort of have a better idea of how this works, we have the database. It'll be interesting to see how you boys use that next week whenever we actually are picking in live time. I think our strategy is going to change quite a bit when it comes to picking these guys in Destiny Draft.
Mr. Genie, I know you've done a lot of tinkering with this database and the filtering.
Nothing ever starts. Nothing ever starts well when you say that's like good start.
Just if I've got one wish left on this lamp, are you able to tell me if Corbin Carroll was the highest scorer in baseball for Destiny Draft over the last 2 weeks, or if someone had a better week in DD point of view? Because I know we've got the undrafted and obviously all the players we picked, but I'm trying to think maybe like a Mizorowski would have outscored him the last couple of weeks, or a Cristopher Sánchez, right? Like those guys went deep into starts three times, didn't give up a lot of runs. I mean, more on Cristopher Sánchez later, and picking up a heap of strikeouts. So I think there's a very good chance that one of those guys might have had a better theoretical round one score. But I'd be surprised if there was a hitter that went better.
You had included Mizorowski start today against the Cardinals, probably Mizorowski would have been better than Corbin Carroll. Look, I'm not able to.
If we're including today's stats, I think Grum gets second, so that's a slippery slope.
What I can do is I can put I can make the database default to full season, but I can give you a date range as well, so you can go in and check that yourself.
My last wish, you won't hear from me for a while.
You'll have another wish next week, so we all know it won't be your last wish when it comes to Destiny Draft. But again, we will rip a pack and we'll have a brand new guest who's got it all in front of them because they've got to make up for Grum's last place finish as we do round 2 next week. And again, you can head to baseballexperts.com and click on Destiny Draft and view how the first round ended up. You can also scroll to the bottom of the page and there you'll get the Destiny Draft player database and have a look around. And again, we'll rip 3 more packs next week for round number 2. Now, boys, I just want to talk a little bit about Santa. And that's not Santa Claus. It's Alimber Santa, the 23-year-old Dominican pitcher for the Astros who debuted today and got the final 6 outs of a combined no-hitter. Now, I know that for the last few weeks, the Houston Astros have been completely off the table on this podcast because Spoon buried them, RIP to the Astros. But this is a pretty incredible story when you consider the fact that Tetsuya Imai had not been pitching well. And I mean, you can argue that 97 pitches in 6 innings isn't the best outing, but he went 6 no-hit innings. Steven Eckert then sort of draws that bridge to Alimber Santa. And I think it was 7-0 after 7 innings. So, it's not that big of a spot to put a young kid in. But I just thought it was interesting that it was like, you know what? We're going to rip the plastic open on this young 23-year-old kid, throw him out when we're pitching a combined no-hitter. And he went out and he did the job. He looked nasty. I mean, I watched the last 2 innings of that game. His slider was really good. I mean, I guess it's more of a sweeper. He's got a nice sinking fastball. Didn't look like a kid making his debut at all, did he?
Yeah, I'm probably the opposite of you. And honestly, just found out from you saying that ended up being a combined no-hitter. I watched the first 6 innings of that game. I watched Imai pitch because I wanted to see how he went. And I got to say, I think he did not go well. He got out of, I think, 3 innings with double play balls. He could not throw strikes. Like he walked 4. He probably could have walked more, but the Rangers started getting impatient. He ended up with 57 out of 97 pitches as strikes. And some of those were, assisted strikes. And this is the Texas Rangers team, who are one of the highest strikeout teams in baseball. I still think it's going to be a bit rough for the Astros and Imai moving forward. But to your point, I'll have to go back and watch the last 2 innings of that because clearly I tuned out at the wrong time. And good on you, Rolsey, for not messaging the chat saying there's a no-hitter going and ruining it, because every time you do that, some guy proceeds to give up
not real.
3 or 4 extra base hits in a row.
Not a real thing. I'll continue to do it. I think I was on a call or so. I was trying to do a bunch of things at once and I knew it was happening. But a combined no-hitter is different, right? Like if it's a single guy, I'll say no-hitter, 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 no-hitter until he gives it up, and you can blame it on me because it's not really true. I assume you were watching that game, and then once Jordan hit that laser home run to center field, it's probably when you stopped watching because your job was essentially done at that point. He continues to go incredibly well. That home run that he hit today to dead center was out. And I mean, it probably got no higher than 20 feet off the ground and was out in 1.5 seconds. I mean, he's going extremely well. That bet that you put on at the beginning of the year for his home run totals is looking almost like a certainty, knock on wood.
I don't think Houston are dead yet, man. Like, I know Spoon has buried them, but the American League is so mediocre. Like, it is so mediocre.
They got Pena back yesterday, and I think Altuve back this week. So maybe.
Dude, they're like 2 games out of a playoff spot, aren't they?
Yeah, it depends what I mean, their farm is limited, and there's talk of like, do you just trade Yordan Alvarez and get an absolute haul, right? Because they haven't really done a rebuild since that kind of dynasty they had going for 3 and 5 years. Yeah, I mean, maybe a little premature, but look, on Yordan Alvarez, just real quickly, I was looking at this today. I wanted to see the biggest difference in players between their actual slugging and their expected slugging. Yordan Alvarez has the 9th biggest gap, as in he's been unlucky to the tune of almost 110 slugging points, and he has the 4th best slugging
That's incredible
percentage in baseball, which is terrifying. And 5th best is your man Jordan Walker, and 6th best is my man Corbin Carroll.
That either means he's going to break out, and well, he's already broken out, but break out even more, and here comes more MVP chat, or it means that he's wasted this hot form and probably doesn't have the credit points in the bank that he should. And yeah, he's floating above where he should be. So we'll see.
Yeah, there was an interesting regular season home run leader market I saw the other day, and Yordan Alvarez was like $7 or $8. I thought that was crazy value because obviously everyone's expecting Judge to keep raking, and Kyle Schwarber's probably going to hit 50. But if Yordan Alvarez stays healthy, I think he's going to hit a lot of home runs this year. He already has. I don't need any part of that market because I'm way too exposed on Mr. Alvarez already hitting home runs. But I thought that was an interesting point.
I don't think those markets can handle any more of your money, to be fair. Look, just before we move on, just to kind of wrap a bow on this combined no-hitter for Houston, it just got me doing a little bit of back research, as I love to do when history like this happens. Obviously, he was the first ever debutante, as you can say. I don't even know that they use that word in the United States. I've lived here too long. The first ever to make his debut as part of a combined no-hitter, which I don't think necessarily surprises anybody. But there's some interesting numbers here because it was the 327th no-hitter in Major League Baseball history. How many of those percentage-wise would you guess are combined no-hitters compared to single pitcher no-hitters? Of the 327, what percentage would you say is the breakdown between combined and not combined?
I'm going to guess I'm going to say 15% because I feel like it's only in the last 10 years where managers are worried about the guy's arm. And up until then, it'd be like, yeah, dude, go out and make history. Who cares if you blow your elbow out?
I would actually say, so wait, there was 350, you said?
Today was the 327th. Total no-hitter, both combined and single.
I don't think there's been that many combined no-hitters. Like, you hardly ever hear about them. Like, this was the first one in 2 years. You kind of work back. I'm going to say 5 to 7%. I'm going to say there's 20 or 30 combined no-hitters ever combined. Because that's hard to do because it's harder because when you're in a no-hitter, at least it's one guy who's in a rhythm, feeling good. Everything filters through one dude. Combined is harder because you have to pass the baton. It takes a lot of different elements and people to be feeling sexy and teams to make adjustments. These guys are good. So I wouldn't think it's that many. I'm actually going to go lower than 20. I'm going to say 18.
That's a really good guess because today was the 22nd combined no-hitter in Major League history. So the percentage split up is 93-7. Which is odd, right? Because there's been 24 perfect games in Major League history, and today was only the 22nd combined no-hitter. So it's actually rarer than the perfect game. And Spoon, I mean, your logic, and I mean, Eric, to your point, I guess, it's there as it goes, well, back in the day, they would just let guys throw until their arms fell off. So if they were throwing a no-hitter, they wouldn't pull them, which is why you didn't see combined no-hitters. But the first ever combined no-hitter in Major League history was in 1917, which was Babe Ruth and Ernie Shore. So it's not as though the first combined no-hitter was in the 90s. It was in 1917, and Babe Ruth was the first one to do it with a relief pitcher. So I just thought it was a really fascinating number that there's actually now been 2 less combined no-hitters than there have been perfect games in Major League history.
Yeah, that is wild when you explain it like that with the perfect game number. And it was cool that Santa was the first since 1900, was it? To be part of a no-hitter on debut or something like that, they were saying in the broadcast. But yeah, I mean, there's been some cool no-hitter magic, right? Baseball is so magical. Who was it? Wasn't it Tyler Gilbert in his first start had a no-hitter? I know he had pitched before as a reliever, but it was his first start. Remember that? Was that 3 years ago.
I
That was
remember it
cool.
well. His rookie cards went crazy, and then they went crazy the other way when everyone realized it was very unsustainable. Do you want to guess how many of the combined no hitters have been since or pre or post 2000 out of the 20
2?
whatever?
I'll stick with my number of 18.
I'm wrong, which is crazy. 8 of those were before 2000, and the rest have been since. Some of them are really weird. Like there's an Astros one here against the Yankees where there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitchers involved. Brad Lidge, Cardinals legend.
Yeah, I vaguely
That's
remember
cool.
when that happened. Yeah.
And some of them are 2 guys, which I think is the coolest way to do it. Corbin Burns, 8 innings. Josh Hader, 1.
Nah,
Good luck.
the coolest is one guy. Or not one guy, sorry, 9 guys. Like 1 an inning.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what the most is. It looks like there's a lot that are in the 3. This website's awesome. It's called nohitters.com, and it's already updated with today's stats.
nohitters.com.
Shout out the boys. Let's get them on the pod.
Yeah, I mean, you can just send this link in future when you're feeling like assassinating a little piece of history, Rosie, and we'll just tune in this way.
That's cool.
And just-
That's a cool stat,
yeah.
Rosie.
What about the
Well,
one
and-
you mentioned, Rosie, in 1917? Babe Ruth got through 0 innings and Ernie Shaw got through 9. I'm pretty sure he got ejected on the first pitch or something like that. Yeah. First no-hitter to feature more than one pitcher. Ruth was ejected for arguing with and punching the ump after walking leadoff batter Ray Morgan. Shaw was called in and Morgan was thrown out trying to steal second. Shaw then retired the next 26 batters for an imperfect game.
That's
Awesome.
unbelievable.
So he threw a 26. He threw a perfect game?
Yeah, well, like the guy who reached on Ruth got thrown out, so he got 26 perfect outs, and Babe Ruth punched a dude out. And then the
That
next
is
one, a guy went
incredible
8
baseball
2/3,
folklore.
and the next guy got 1 out. So pretty wacky.
Yeah, shout out that
That is
website again, just
incredible.
in case anybody wants to go give it a visit. That sounds incredible.
nohitters.com. And they've got a little bit of history on all of them, and you can break them down into combined no-hitters, perfect games, around the world no-nos. You've got Australian no-nos. This is sick.
Yeah, I love that.
There's only been... Oh,
Good
no,
old
there's
Welchie.
been- yeah,
Remember
do you
that
guys know how many there's
with the
been?
Sydney Blue Sox?
Yeah.
I think there's only been one in the modern
So
ABL.
the current ABL, there's been 1. And then in the original ABL, do you know how many there were?
I don't. 4?
7.
Oh, really? Give me the names.
Chris Duncan and Michael Hennessy from the Parramatta Patriots. Wow. Jody Treadwell from the Adelaide Giants.
Oh, no
Kevin
shit.
Gallagher from the Melbourne Bushrangers. John Boothby from the Brisbane Bandits. Gary Nielsen, Kelly Wunsch, and Cameron Cancross from the Brisbane Bandits.
Cam Cancross. Yeah, he's a big leaguer. He made the big leagues.
Yeah, wow. Alan McDill from the Melbourne Monarchs. These are great franchise names. Matt
Oh, man.
Herger and John Challinor from the Adelaide Giants.
Yeah, Chunky. John Challinor. You would have faced John Challinor, man. Chunky played in Division 7 just for fun.
Oh, well, he definitely kept his Hitler streak
I think he
alive.
played for Goodwood. You remember like playing Div 7 and going up against Goodwood, and there was 2
Yeah.
dudes that came in. It was Jamie Bushell and John Challinor. It was like
Yeah.
2 dudes that literally played in the ABL, and now Challinor is like, and then Challinor ended up playing like Division 2. He ended up playing Division 1. He made a return. He was pitching like 3 years ago in Division 1 at 46, but he's just bounced around all the grades.
That was my humble moment of sitting on the couch for 7 years being like, why are you swinging at that every time a curveball was thrown and then ducking out of the way of 3
Yeah,
strikes in a
That
row?
was Jamie Bushell that was up to that. But dude, I love looking at old baseball names, and like I just had to pull up an old chat from literally like 2 days ago. My buddy was messaging me backstory because I think it's worth it because we were looking at old box scores from an NHL game and a similar thing in like 1927, and this guy whose name is Foghorn Claiborne kept coming up in all of
80
these
great
things.
name.
So all of a sudden we were looking into like old baseball names, and he sent me this thing from an old Cleveland Spiders roster in Major League Baseball, and some of the names were ridiculous. So I just pulled up a text message. Can I read you, please, some of these names? Permission to read them. And you tell me who takes the cake.
Absolutely. But very quick side note, I don't know why they didn't bring back Cleveland Spiders when they rebranded the Indians. Like,
Yeah, and they played in
Spiders
the
is
late
so much cooler.
1800s, by the way.
So much cooler than Guardians.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
First off the list, this is just leading them in order. Icebox Chamberlain. We've got Cupid Childs, Lave Cross, Pretzels Getzian, Mike Goodfellow, Cowboy Jones, Sport McAllister, Chippy McGar, Cinders O'Brien, Ollie O'Pickering, Crazy Schmidt, Louis Sock Alexis, Patsy Tebow, Pussy Tebow, Jim Toy, Peekaboo Veach, Jake Virtue, Highball Wilson, and Rosty Wright.
Epic. They sound like regens in MLB The Show when you go too far into franchise mode and they just have to like create names.
Yeah,
I am going to
clearly
send you the proof of these names too. It is
look, Jim
incredible.
Toy probably for me gets an honorable mention just for the obvious ways that can be used. But I don't know that you can go by Pretzels Getzian, can you? Like Pretzels has got to be he's got to be the A1 like S tier
Pretzels
name.
Getsy sounds like a 2-for-1 special at Aunt Anne's or something like that.
Well, I like it. There's the two Tebows, and one Tebow played 959 games. That was Patsy Tebow. And very suspiciously, there's a Pussy Tebow who played 1 game or 2 games. 2 games total. But
When the other
it
one
was
was
just
suspended,
Patsy and
probably.
one of those like nose, mustache, glasses things once he had retired or something, right? There was definitely some funny business going on there.
To close out on our friends nohitters.com, you guys will like this one. Do you know how many, if any, World Baseball Classic no-hitters there's been?
There's been 1.
There's been 2.
Oh.
Netherlands in 2006 against Panama and Puerto Rico in 2023 against Israel.
I knew the Puerto Rico one, but I didn't know the Netherlands one.
We don't get commission, by the way, for mentioning nohitters.com. This is all organic.
Sounds like an awesome site, though. So shout out the boys. I'm glad you found that. Look, I do want to talk some current streaks as well. So very, very on brand podcast today. But the last thing, I mean, you mentioned there, Ernie Shore getting 26 consecutive outs after Babe Ruth got tossed and punched a guy in the face, and God knows did whatever else whenever he left the yard that year. Do you know what the consecutive outs record is in the major leagues?
No.
For a pitcher or a hitter?
For a pitcher. For a hitter.
Chris Davis had the one, I think.
I would say like 40 something?
No, there's a scoreless streak at that, right? So a consecutive outs would have to be
120? No, consecutive outs though. There could be no walk in there.
Consecutive
Right.
outs.
So it's got to be a perfect game plus change the next. It's going to be like 11 or 12.
Consecutive outs. No, perfect game would be 27.
Yeah, sorry. So I was doing
Plus
innings.
change.
So
So I would say
like
40.
35.
40. I'm sticking with 40.
It was back in 2014, and I don't remember this happening. It was Yasmiro Pettit when he played for the Giants, and he had a 6-game stretch, 15 and a third innings from the 26th of July to the 23rd of August. So he went an entire month in 2014 as a relief pitcher in 6 different outings and got 46 consecutive outs, which is impressive. And that year he had like a 4.0 ERA. So it's not like he was something incredible. It's just for whatever reason during a 6-game stretch, he was on something for the dog days of summer back in 2014.
A reliever makes more sense, actually. I was thinking it was going to be a starter with like 2
My
brilliant
mind
starts.
originally went to starter as well because you think a reliever coming in, hitting a guy, giving up a walk, those sorts of things, right? I mean, you think of Mason
D-backs
Miller.
experience.
Yeah, well, you think of Mason Miller and he's unhittable, right? But he does have a propensity to give up a base hit every now and again or walk a guy. So to be able to do a 6-game stretch, and I mean, a lot of those obviously were multiple innings to go 15 and a third across 6 different games, all in relief, and get 46 consecutive outs is pretty impressive. So look, as we kind of turn that leaf over to the current game, a guy that we were talking about before we came on, who also happens to be the top point scorer at the moment, maybe not anymore, because I think Mizorowski would have passed him today. But Cristopher Sánchez, I mean, this is a guy that you were high on basically from the time this podcast began 18 months ago, Spoon, and he is showing us all why you were so high on him before. I mean, the scoreless streak that he's got going is impressive in its own right.
Shout out to the Perth Heat Baseball Club. A proud alum is Cristopher Sánchez.
Yeah, right. Well, I actually invested in Cristopher Sánchez to win the NL Cy Young a few days ago before he made a start against Guardians and extended that streak. And what's happened since then is Paul Skeens got lit up again, and he's dropped to third favorite with Mizorowski now in the mix as well. But you've got 3 guys. We've actually got 5 guys in single figures for the NL Cy Young, which at this time of year I think is awesome. Like normally a lot of these awards are fields of 2 or fields of 3 within a month or two, because you know how volatile pitching stats are. 1 or 2 bad starts, you're kind of out of it. Ohtani's hanging around there. Chris Sale's there, but you've got Sanchez and Mizorowski at 310 and 420. This is going to be the best Cy Young race I think we've had in a very long time.
There'll be a late bloomer, right? Like still very early days, which is the kind of fun of it.
I think Chase Burns is still right in the picture at $14. Like his numbers this year are terrific. And I think he's probably just not quite as big a name yet. Maybe this is the year he kind of goes close and next year really breaks out. But look, if there's someone there that's missing that I think should be in the hunt, it's him. But to compare it to the AL Cy Young, and obviously that market's had a little bit of a re-rate with the Dylan Cease IL trip, but you've got 3 guys in single figures, and then Gavin Williams at 13s and my Shane McClanahan at 21s. So that field's kind of quite narrow already, whereas I think this NL race is going to go all year. And we're going to have a lot of fun watching guys battle it out.
So I was reflecting on a conversation we had, maybe it was the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, about Shohei Ohtani. I think, first off, we know, let's leave out his actual dominance. We know the media loves him. We know the voters love him. We know it's kind of there. I don't think he's going to win the MVP and the Cy Young. Like, I don't think people want that to happen. I think it's kind of that breaks some history. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And he's probably not hitting well enough there too. But I do think that people will want to see Shohei have this aura of this complete player. The MVPs in both of the leagues, the World Series, and now he's won a Cy Young. Like, it just adds to that lore. And this is a storytelling award, right? Like, having your narrative matters. So I actually think that if he keeps going the way he's going, he's going to win the Cy Young award. I don't think there's anything anyone can do about it. I think the story is too powerful. But what that does is makes the MVP race even open. And that's where I think you're going to actually find some value compared to where some of the guys are now. Like, what's Corbin paying?
$34, which is madness. I said to you guys just before, last year he finished 5th and he had a 131 OPS plus. This year he's got a 161 OPS plus. He could very well set a modern day record for triples this year.
And on top of that, right, like he's got a good narrative behind him too, not only for those numbers, but if the Diamondbacks make the playoffs, it's like, and they will if Corbin keeps producing at how he's producing, it adds that story of taking like a non-playoff team right into the thick of the race, competing with the likes of everybody else, right? Like Shohei is such an overwhelming favorite. And then you've got guys, I was looking the other day, it was Schwarber, Matt Olson, and Olson's starting to tail off a little bit. Bryce is kind of too inconsistent. I don't know if I'm on the Ellie De La Cruz train. James Wood strikes out too much. Like, really, Schwarber's got a good story. But Corbin Carroll might have some unbelievable value if you subscribe to the thought that Shohei Ohtani is going to win the Cy Young Award, and there's every reason that he could.
Well, I wish you could find a market to finish second or to finish top 3 MVP, because that's where you'd be piling into Corbin Carroll right now, 100%. I'll put the question back on both of you, and this is the reason why he's $7 to win the Cy Young and not $2.20. What's the minimum number of starts you want to see Shohei Ohtani make to win the Cy Young Award? Because he's not going to make 32 starts, but how many is acceptable, do you think?
20.
20?
Yeah, 2/3 of the season, so 21, whatever that number is.
If he makes 20 starts, and even if he's good enough, numbers-wise, he's going to win the MVP because his offensive numbers are still going to be great. I don't think that I could back Shohei Ohtani to win the NL Cy Young with stolen money. I completely disagree.
I think 26, 27 starts is where he needs to be. He goes every 6 days instead of every 5. It needs to stay that way with no more, because how many times has a guy had 20 brilliant starts and gone down with Tommy John in August and not been in contention to win the award? I mean, that's effectively the same thing, right? You're playing 2/3 of a season, which is, it's not enough. Not when you've got a genuine 5-horse race here with 5 brilliant starters who will make 32 starts.
I think the Heat have to be shut down as a hitter in order to win the NL Cy Young.
He's got an 0.73 ERA.
But I think he'd have to be shut down as an offensive player. He'd have to be shut down as a hitter, which wouldn't happen. If he's shut down, he's shut down.
But you're going narrative, Rosie, or are you just talking the picture alone?
No, I don't think there's any way. Like, his hitting statistics are still going to be incredible. Like, I mean, he's top. I mean, I'm going off Destiny Draft because I have it in front of me. He's top 100 as a hitter and as a pitcher, right? And he only has 8 fewer points as a hitter than he does as a pitcher. So it's like we all think, oh, Shohei Ohtani's having a down year as a hitter, but he's having a down year to his own standards. So, and he's probably also like, you've also got to think that he's going to come back to the median, right? I mean, I get Eric's point. Like, yeah, to become a player, to win an MVP in both leagues, come back and win a Cy Young award. But I don't think he's going to get the innings. And I think he's just going to be too polarizing, too good. His hitting statistics are going to be undeniable. And he's not going to win both awards. So if he wins the Cy Young, is the NL MVP award just kind of an empty award because it's like, oh, they gave the Cy Young to Shohei. So now the MVP award is it's the runner-up because everybody knows Shohei's the MVP.
For the sake of like strip narrative out and treat them as two separate players, how many starts is enough? Because I know he's got a sub-1 ERA with 8 starts. Cristopher Sánchez has a 1.62 ERA with 11 starts. If we do that 3 more times, he's going to make 8 more starts. Like, how big does the gap in starts have to be compared to, innings pitched?
Well, first off, let me just say that the 162 is the number to qualify for the ERA title. So I think you can't win the Cy Young if you haven't reached a minimum threshold to qualify even for an ERA title, right?
Okay, so what's he on now? He's pitched
50?
49 innings, so he's going to go close, man. We're a third of the way through the season, so he might not hit that 162 inning mark.
Because pitchers have won the MVP award. Like, I mean, you've got to go back 12 years. Kershaw was the last to do it, but it's like, even if he's winning it on the merits of his pitching, you can't just ignore what he's doing at the plate. Like, I don't understand what you two guys are talking about. Like, he'd have to not hit for 4 months to win the Cy Young, because if he was good enough to win the Cy Young, he's going to win the MVP.
I'm with you. I think he's winning the MVP. I don't think he's winning the Cy Young. I'm just kind of feeding the discussion. Eric's saying if he wins the Cy Young, he shouldn't win the MVP.
Eric's just a story guy. Angle, right? Eric loves the story. Big storybook guy.
He's a narrative.
And that's
guy.
why I'm saying, like, obviously, like, the odds are the odds, right? The bookmakers obviously think Shohei's a lock to win the MVP. And obviously, I do too. Like, you can't deny what he's done. But I think if Corbin Carroll continues to have a ridiculous season, you have that added narrative. Shohei I don't know. I think there is a world where there is some value in that Corbin Carroll taking a punt on what happens there, especially if Shohei gets hurt at 34s. There's probably somewhere in there too. But yeah, there could be a world where Shohei wins the Cy Young and doesn't win the MVP.
It's not going to be this world.
Look, anytime you say Corbin Carroll MVP, I'm with you.
Kershaw won both. I get it that you give it to both, but you never know. The story. It's a story award, man.
They're also going to win 110 games, which helps.
Yeah. And look, I think there's just going to be too many guys that are undeniable in that market that are pitcher only. And how much has the game changed in the last 12 years? Quite a bit. It seems crazy to say, but it's still a much different game to when Kershaw won it 12 years ago. I mean, the game has rapidly evolved in that decade plus since he won it. So it's definitely an interesting discussion, but there may be a world in some alternate universe that Shohei Ohtani wins the Cy Young, but it won't be this planet Earth. It'll be some Rick and Morty version of planet Earth where that actually happens. Look, but before we get to Spoon's picks, I do just want to check in on the American League Rookie of the Year market, because Eric, you sort of brought this up and talking about guys that could come from the clouds and win awards. I mean, we obviously saw something very special today with Curtis Mead and Travis Bazzana playing against each other. Curtis Mead sort of stole the thunder, hit a couple of home runs, and is playing really well. But you made the point, just in stripping back the numbers and looking at what Bazzana's done through his first 100 plate appearances, that he's probably as good a chance as anybody to win the American League Rookie of the Year. And I don't even know that he was in the market to begin the season. He wouldn't have been.
And now he's leading off as well. His WAR is already approaching 1. His OPS is at 824 as we speak. His on-base percentage, he's a 400 on-base percentage, right? Like, yeah, his first 100 plate appearances, he's hitting 294. He's got 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. He's stolen 7 bases as well, right? Like, he's a pretty well-rounded player. And there's a direct correlation from when he's being called up and Cleveland's starting to win some ball games. So, AL Rookie of the Year, what's the market on Bazzana right now?
He's $18, which is 5th favorite. You've obviously got 2 real shorties in Murakami and McGonigal. Then you've got Chase DeLauder, obviously Bazzana's teammate over there in Cleveland. Samuel Basayo, who the Orioles are really high on, probably going to be catcher of the future, potentially past Adley. Then you've got Parker Messick, I think is a little bit of value. And then even price, Travis Bazana, and our Trey Savage.
Murakami's going to be the hard one to beat, but yeah, like Bazana, I'm a narrative guy, and that's a narrative story as well. This kid from Australia comes to the MLB, gets called up, and just rakes right away, and yeah, I mean, Murakami's played double the games, and his WAR is double of what Bazana is. That's cool.
Well,
but,
I think
17 homers.
The value with Bazana is the value with Bazana is that he's not a one-trick pony like Murakami is, right? Like Murakami could very easily have a dearth of a month of whatever, right? The dog days of summer where he hits
150 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's not on base at all, and then all of a sudden his value is going to plummet. And then and there's so much hype around the Rookie of the Year as well. I mean, Spoon, we talked about at the beginning of the year, but the two guys that won it last year, in Kurtz and Baldwin, like they were both, I think, even this time of year were double digits.
No way.
And obviously came on really late. I mean, we've seen how well those guys are going. I mean, Kurtz extended that on-base streak to pass Mark McGwire earlier today. So it does seem like in the Rookie of the Year markets, that's where guys do tend to come from the clouds, whereas the Cy Young and MVP markets, it's the guys that are $4 or $5 or shorter at the beginning of the season. So look, I think what Murakami's doing, none of us expected. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum a few times on the show, but I think he's a one-trick pony. And how many guys do we see that are able to sustain that? Kurtz did last year, but can Murakami do it this year? And if he can't, why not Travis Bazana?
And Guardians are going to run away with the Central. Run away.
You guys talk me out of Trey Savage, though. Like, he's heading into today, he had the same WAR as Murakami. Like, I know he started late, but he's made 6 starts now. His ERA is 2, and he's striking out over 1.5 guys per inning, just about. Like, he's going to make, what's he missed, 6 starts? He could make 25, 26 starts. If those numbers hold at the end of the year, I don't know why it's not him.
And this was his bad start today, right? He allowed 5 earned runs in 6, and his ERA is still at 2.
The Marlins are pesky because the top 3 of the guys, the top 3 guys hit 300 and don't strike out. Like, I'm still really keen at 18s for Trey. He went from 11s this morning to 18s off that start. I think that's reactive, and I think, like, if you want to look at WAR alone, he's on pace to have the best WAR season of any of the rookies because of what he's done in less time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk you out of it. You were asking me to talk you out of it. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, awesome.
Sounds like Eric's dog might be trying to, though.
What does he know that I don't? I tell you what, though, like, it is really tough for pitchers. I mean, last week I had a bit of a crack at your JJ Weatherall, and then since then, well, I did it during Nolan McLean's first poor start. He's backed up with a second poor start. His ERA is now 4.6, and he's drifted to $10. Like, as a rookie pitcher, you've got 30 outings or whatever it is. If a few of those are bad, it's really tough to recover from stats-wise. I think there's been six pitchers to win the Rookie of the Year in the last 30. Like, if you look at 15 years across both leagues, it's not easy to do. So that's maybe the argument against it. But I also think Trey's a dude.
Just trying to see when the last Cardinals player was to win Rookie of the Year. I don't know if Pujols did it. I want to say that Albert did. Yeah, of course he did. 2001. The Cardinals have had a long list of guys that have done it. Vince Coleman, Todd Worrell. So, I mean, guys that ended up going on to be really, really good big leaguers, obviously. I mean, a guy like Albert Pujols, but yeah, he won it in 2001. So JJ would be the first Cardinal since 01 to win it if he does do it. And I mean, certainly he's had a great start to the season. He's been everything that was advertised of him. And so yeah,
don't rule out Ryan Walshnet. He's batting 350, top prospect in the organization.
What about Santa?
Santa? Nah, he does his best work at Christmas.
We will step aside. Look, there were some names in this segment that I don't know that you'll ever hear again, and we probably won't hear names like Icebox and Cupid Chills and Pretzels Gretzian, but I hope we do hear them sometime along the line. We'll step aside. Spoon's got his best bets. I'm all tongue-tied because of the names that Eric's giving us. Best bets from Spoon coming up next. Back getting you set for the Wednesday slate in Major League Baseball, which there'll be some night games, which will be nice. I totally forgot today was Memorial Day in the United States and woke up and half the baseball games were already finished, which was a bit disappointing. And in honor of having multiple night games tomorrow and things sort of returning to normalcy, Spoon, you tell us that you've got 2 multis for us tomorrow because you're mad as a cut snake. So let's go with the first one.
Baseball's good to me right now, so ride the hot hand, so to speak. To just quickly, before I launch into the first leg of these multis, do you guys want to guess who the highest runs per game team is in baseball with how many runs? Hint, it's not the Dodgers.
I would maybe guess the Atlanta Braves.
They're second.
What was the question? Sorry, I was distracted by a dog.
That's all right. Highest runs per game team.
Oh, I know this. The Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
They lead. They're also the highest runs allowed team.
Yeah. Great overs team. Not going to play that way tomorrow, but I am going to play their team total. Their team total is 3.5. They're scoring 5.5 runs per game. And what's interesting about this, you look at a lot of these splits for teams and their runs per game, there's up to a run or run and a half difference between home and away. The Nationals at home, 5.54 runs. The Nationals on the road, 5.31 runs. Like, they're just good for 5 every day. They lose. They don't care. James Wood usually gets a homer and 3 strikeouts. And Curtis Mead does something to get us all excited about. But I love it even more on the road because you get those 9 innings. And there's so many times when you take a team total as the home team, you don't get that 9th inning that you often need. So tomorrow on the road to start us off, I think it's a 7:40 game here in South Australia. So it's the early game on the slate, but with a full slate of night games. We're going to go the Nationals over 3.5 team total as the first leg. The second leg I like, and look, this is a little bit, part of it is because I'm wishing this to happen because I want Dylan Cease to win the Cy Young. But I'm going to semi-take on Cam Schlittler tomorrow, my guy. He's been overperforming a little bit, I think. I thought he was going to be awesome this year. I didn't think he was going to be the best pitcher in all of baseball, which he has been. When I was looking at these team total splits, what really jumped out to me was the Royals. They're 25th in baseball on runs per game. On the road, they score 3.04 runs per game, but at home, they're 4.57, which is one of the better totals in baseball. And that's notoriously a pitcher's park as well there. So the Royals are scoring runs. I think we're going to see 6 good innings from Schlittler like we usually do. But I think that Yankees bullpen's been leaking a little bit. And even Schlittler's start against the Jays, he loaded the bases and then gave up a bases loaded walk to score a run. The bullpen let a couple more of those score. I think we can see 4 runs from the Royals because they're probably going to be losing that game. We're probably going to see them in the 9th. So those 2 teams to score 4 or more runs tomorrow, $3.75. I think that's a really fun way to kick things off. Any thoughts on those, boys?
Good luck taking on Cam, man. He's a machine.
Well, yeah.
He's the best. He's the best now.
He's really good. But what I also like that I didn't mention is the Royals are a pesky contact team. And a pesky contact team, I think, is something that he hasn't seen a lot of except for the Jays. And the Jays gave him the most trouble that he's really seen all season, right? Like they were spitting on pitches. They were running up the pitch count. I think with guys that make a lot of contact in that team, like a Bobby Witt Jr., we just need 1 inning where they get a couple of guys on. I'm only hoping to get 2 off Schlittler in 6, and we can get the other 2 off the bullpen.
Well, it sounds like based on your logic, and I think it's good logic, that you could almost just pencil the Nats in for whatever their team total is, the overs for that when they're on the road, because you're guaranteed that they're going to get multiple chances at. I mean, I think today against Bybee, didn't they hit leadoff home runs in 3 consecutive innings or something? So, I mean, they've got a ton of pop that they're showing as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just James Wood and, Curtis has been great as well, but guys like Jacob Young, I don't know if you guys have seen the season, what's his name? I'm blanking, the shortstop, CJ Abrams. He's having a brilliant season. Like, there's actually genuine offense up and down.
Garcia.
Abrams has a 161 OPS plus. It's the same as Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
Like, he's really hitting the ball well.
They can hit 1 to 10, dude.
Yeah. I'm excited about the Nats. I think it's definitely the better of the 2 legs, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll be alive after the first one, and we're just looking for a bit of KC Royals magic, and that might be one of the first times I've ever tipped us into a Royals game. That used to be Eric's department.
I support it. I trust you because you're hot, but buyer beware.
I got to say, you guys sounded more confident about Trey at 18s than you did do about the Royals over 3.5 at 2s.
Yes.
I don't know whether that means I should go harder on Trey or softer on the Royals, but that's all right.
¿Por qué no los dos?
The other one, 666, the number of the beast. I found 3 guys I like tomorrow for 6 strikeouts that it's just sort of under where their line is. I think 1 or 2 of these lines is 7.5 plus money. but some great matchups. I'll just run through each one with a little brief rather than deep diving it. Chase Byrne is the first one against the Mets. I think it kind of picks itself. I mean, he's been awesome. Like he's just consistently getting strikeouts. And the Mets, what's really interesting this year, for 3 or 4 years, they were the top 5 strikeout prevention team. They just did not swing and miss at all. They add Soto this year. You think they're going to be impossible to strike out, but they're actually 13th. And they're striking out as much at home as they are on the road, probably encouraged by their booing fans because they're 10 games under 500. But I think with the stuff Chase Burns has and the trust he's been given by the team, he should be pretty good for 6. So that's in at $1.50 as leg 1. The second one is Joe Ryan. Fastball Joe, one of my favorite pitchers to watch. He doesn't exactly, dominate the tallies very often. Like he's not a Mizorowski that's going to get 9, 10, 11, 12, but he's very consistently 7 or 8 and above. And tomorrow on the road against the White Sox, second highest strikeout team in baseball. He's kind of survived an injury scare a few weeks ago, and since then he's just picked up where he's left off with some high strikeout starts. So I'm keen to throw Joe Ryan in second. And the third one, look, I am tempting fate here, and if I'm somehow alive on the third leg, it's going to be my fault that we lose because I'm going to bet into a Cardinals game, which almost never works for me. But I really like Kyle Harrison tomorrow. Now, this is a guy who's just kind of appeared out of nowhere, really. I mean, he was with the Giants, and then he was traded to the Brewers. He's only 24, and there's a lot of talk about Mizorowski and how good he's been, but there's like 4 guys in that Brewers rotation right now that are 24 years and younger that are all just dominating. Like Mizorowski's 24, he's got a 1.89 ERA. Kyle Harrison's 24, and he's got a 1.77 ERA. The other names are Logan Henderson and Brandon Sproat, who had a rough couple of starts recently, maybe isn't in that same upper echelon of Brewers pitching, but Kyle Harrison's been awesome. Like the way the Brewers find these guys and just continue to find really good quality pitching is really impressive. He struck out 11 Cubs last start, which really put him on my radar. Cubs have been the 8th best strikeout prevention team all season. St. Louis have been 11th, and we saw what Mizorowski did to them today. So I think 6 for Kyle Harrison tomorrow doesn't seem too greedy. So throw all 3 guys in for 6, Chase Burns, Joe Ryan, Kyle Harrison, and you're getting it just under $4 to 1.
I like this. The Devils play.
Yeah. And then we end with some devil magic in St. Louis. Probably Kyle Harrison will be on 5 strikeouts, and every time he gets to the 6th, what's his name? The catcher's going to use ABS and probably overturn 7 decisions, and ultimately there'll be a mound visit.
Well, as long as it's nothing like
see how it goes.
the
2
mound
multis
visit.
at nearly 4 to 1. If we get one of them, we're happy. If we get neither of them, I'm back to just being a singles guy. Don't tell Sophia.
I'm just saying, as long as it's nothing like the mound visit that sounds like happened whenever Babe Ruth threw that combined no-hitter in 1917, all will be above board. Look, going against Michael McGreevy tomorrow, that's a decision that you decided to make. He's been one of the best. But look, I do echo your
I'm
sentiments
not going
about
against him, man. He can throw a perfect game. I don't care.
That's a fair point. I do echo your sentiments about Milwaukee, though. I mean, losing Freddie Peralta, obviously Woodruff being out, the fact that pitching staff has still been able to do what they're doing is pretty incredible. Yeah,
and the Cubs, meanwhile, are kind of struggling on that front, right? Like their starting pitching depth is really being tested, and I think that's contributed a lot to, we flip-flopped on the NL Central 3 times. I think I previewed the season by saying it's over, and then, the Cubs started slow, and then they went 11 or 12 out of 12, and then we said it's over again, and now look what they've done. They've lost 13 of their last 15 games, and the Brewers, they're just always there, and whoever goes through them wins the National League. That's how it works.
So just to recap, Spoon's 2 multis for tomorrow. It's a special episode. Spoon giving us 2 multis. Nats and Royals team totals both over. Again, I just first time Royals and over has ever been said in the same sentence on this show. Both of those over 3.5 team totals. And then 6 or more strikeouts for Chase Burns, Joe Ryan, and Kyle Harrison is the way that we're going to finish things tomorrow. Again, we will be back on Friday for a weekend pickoff. We missed it because, look, I was in wine country, and things happen when you're in wine country this past week. But we will be back on Friday, and then again, we'll be pulling 3 packs for the second round of Destiny Draft on Monday next week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Shout out Pretzels Getzian. We'll see you guys on Friday. Enjoy your baseball.